We've been honoring 20 years since the release of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater for the original Sony PlayStation. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, one of my favorite games of all time, a game that I've talked about on camera before, as being a game that I played whether it was at work, I was working for FuncoLand at the time, or whether I was at home. It was a game that helped me through the flu when I was really sick. It was a game that almost made me late for my own wedding. It is a game that I have fond memories of. But what's interesting is that that's not the first skateboarding game that really caught my attention in 1999. There was one other that came out before that, which a lot of people tend to dismiss outright because it's a pure arcade game. It is not so much a points-based or a skating simulation or anything like that. This is akin more to a coin-operated arcade game than it would be to a skateboarding game like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater would be. I was originally going to do this as an Unsealed episode, but I believe that the game that I have here has been opened and resealed, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this as a repeat episode instead, because it is also one of my favorite PlayStation games. It is a game that I revisit from time to time, and I have a lot of fond memories of it. And the game that I'm talking about is Street Skater, which was published by Electronic Arts and developed by Microcabin. It was released also in 1999, a few months before Tony Hawk's Pro Skater came out. Now, the thing to understand about Street Skater is that it plays very similarly to Sega's Top Skater arcade game. And if you haven't seen Top Skater before, it is an arcade machine that has a skateboard controller to it that you stand on, and you can kick the tail in order to jump. You can swerve left and right in order to move your character left and right. And it takes place on rails. You really don't get to do a lot of exploration. It takes place on a course, and you have to pull off tricks in certain trick zones in order to score as high as you can before time runs out. You have to try and reach the finish line before the clock expires. While you're making your way through the course, you can extend time the further you get into the course. This game plays just like that. Now, there isn't a skateboard controller that you use. You're using a traditional controller in order to play this, but it handles very similarly. Now, I got this from eBay. Unfortunately, like I said, I was thinking that it was new, but it is not. And the way that you can tell is, although we do have the ID label at the top here, it looks normal until you turn it around and you see that the back of the case is upside down. So I think that this has been resealed, but that's okay because this gives me an opportunity to talk more about the game. Let's go ahead and get the wrapping off here first, and then we will talk about Street Skater a bit more. So we take the wrapping off. There we go. And we will take the label off here. Maybe it was just sealed the wrong way, but I kind of tend to doubt it. So we take that off there. Yeah, that's been resealed. So we take the top off. We open this up. Actually, it does just look like it was packaged wrong. That's kind of neat. So here's the front. Skater-looking guy. This is actually the character I tend to use when I play the game. And on the back of the case here, grind sick handrails in the street, or grab huge air in the pipe, real action, real boards, real bands. You can see some of the screenshots here. And again, it is very similar to Sega's Top Skater. In fact, if you've played that and you play this game, you'd notice a lot of similarities right off the jump. But again, that's not a bad thing. It is a very accessible way to play a skateboarding game without knowing a lot of the trick combinations that you need for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and certainly not to the level of simulation that Thrasher, Skater, and Destroy used. This is more arcade-based, and it's one of the reasons why I like it so very much. So let's go ahead and open this up, and I'll show you what's on the inside. And there are some really cool things on the inside. The first thing that you will see is something from Electronic Arts, which is right here. Looking for some action, they threaten, with advertisements for Need for Speed 3, Road Rash 3D, Moto Racer 2, Small Soldiers. Small Soldiers is a movie I still haven't seen. Future Cop LAPD, Skull Monkeys is here, from the creators of Earthworm Jim. Auto Destruct, Reboot is here. That's a game that I have disc only. I'd like to try and find that complete at some point. Bushido Blade 2, Brave Fencer Musashi, Parasite Eve, and Xenogears, because EA had a publishing partnership with Squaresoft at the time. That's why those games are here. We also have some greatest hits games: Road Rash, Nuclear Strike, Soviet Strike, Lost World, Jurassic Park, Moto Racer, Need for Speed V Rally. That's all those. Diablo, Warcraft 2, SimCity 2000, Theme Parks Fade to Black, Extreme Pinball, which is terrible, by the way, and Battle Station. So this is a really neat little catalog that's here. Also included, we have, and unfortunately this doesn't work anymore, but you get a free beanie with your paid subscription to Warp Magazine. That's what the beanie looks like, and actually I'll kind of move my finger so you can see it. That's what the beanie looks like. It's green. I kind of like that. Warp Magazine is a skate, snow, surf style sound. It is very much a skate culture or extreme culture kind of magazine, and you only had to pay $9.95 for 6 issues. I think that's a full year. I think they published it every other month. So that's kind of neat to have that in there. And it's one of the cool things about video games back then is that you never knew what else was on the inside. Sometimes you're getting a magazine subscription either discounted or maybe you're getting a free magazine. Other times you're getting really cool looking catalogs like this that would show you games that are coming out or games that you might want to add to your list. And that is pretty cool. We also get a look at our Street Skater disc, which looks just like this. It's very street looking, very city urban looking, and that's certainly very cool. And when we look, and we're going to look at the game case here in a moment, and the first thing I want to show you is the list of artists who contribute music to the game, and it's very important. So here's the list of the artists. Right here. Less Than Jake is one of the artists. We also have Plastilina Mosh, Weston, H2O, all Straight Face, The Pie Tasters, Eye Against Eye, and Gas Huffer right here. Now, this disc, and let me turn this around, this disc you could actually put in a CD player, and you could listen to the soundtrack. And this is licensed artists. This isn't straight up video game music. This is music that you could hear on CDs that you would buy. So now you have a nice little hit collection or a music collection or playlist that you could play in your car or at home to listen to when you're writing or cleaning or whatever. And I like that about this game. And we'll be opening another game in a future episode that has something very similar to this. In fact, a couple, but I don't want to give too much away. When we open up the manual is in black and white. This is not surprising. A lot of PlayStation manuals were. And it basically just talks about the play controls, and the play controls are very simple. The play controls really look just like this. The command summary is very easy. Ollie or to jump is X. Gaining speed or accelerating is the circle button. I should say Ollie is the cross button. I got to be careful there. The brake or reduce speed is the square button. You can switch your stance from goofy to regular using the R1 and L1 buttons. And you perform tricks just by jumping and pressing the D button either up, down, left, or right. So when you hit a trick point, when you hit a ramp, you just press the X button and either left, right, up, or down at the same time. And a trick will be pulled off based on how fast the skater is going and how far into the game that you've gotten. If you can get all the way up to a level 8 trick, you get the max amount of points. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to worry about doing rotations in the air, nothing like that. The game is very forgiving when it comes to that, and you can pull off some pretty insane looking tricks, I have to admit. So the idea of the game is to get through the course in as little time as possible and to accumulate as many points as possible. Now, if you don't score enough points before you reach the end of the course, you have to do the course again. So you do have a minimum amount of points that you must score. And there aren't very many tracks in the game. I think there are only 3 or 4 when I'm looking here. Looks like it's 3 tracks in the game, maybe 4. And then the game repeats where there are different sections of each track that open up to make them a bit longer. So there is some replay value here, and it doesn't take long to play all the way through the game. In fact, with one character, you can probably play all the way through it in about an hour. So that doesn't justify paying $50 or whatever it was like I paid for it back in 1999. But if you find this game available at a local video game store or online through eBay or Amazon, it's something to look at. If you like arcade games and you like skateboarding games, this is going to be one that I think that you really enjoy. You are going to want to have a memory card so you can save your progress, you can save your high scores, and enjoy everything that the game has to offer. Now, the thing about Street Skater that really sticks out to me as I wrap up here is that Street Skater came out at a time where I was looking forward to Tony Hawk, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game, and I had been spending a lot of time with Top Skater in arcades. And if you think about the fact that Top Skater cost $1 per play, having something like this, you'd basically be paying for 50 times, and you could play it as much as you want. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't complain about how the graphics looked. I didn't complain about how simple the game is by comparison, because I am an arcade guy at heart, and the more arcadey that it handles, the more arcadey that it plays, the more that I like it. And just like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, scoring is the most important thing. The more points you get, the better you are. And scoring for me, going all the way back to the early days of arcades, are really where it's at. So again, Street Skater right here in this combination RePete / Unsealed episode, kind of a crossover, I guess, since it winds up that the game was actually brand new. So I kind of took a chance on it. If you've played Street Skater at all, you can tell me about it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I do have a ton more games to get to as we move through more episodes of Unsealed. One will be coming soon. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.